Today I sit down with Captain David Marquet, who took over the USS Santa Fe, which was a nuclear-powered attack submarine. And it was the worst performing submarine in the fleet. And it was a completely different type of submarine that he ever knew about. And in his story, which he writes about in Turn the Ship Around, which became an Amazon bestseller, he turned his crew from followers into leaders. And in our interview today, we talk a lot about what is intent-based leadership. David unpacks why leadership is language, how to ask questions that truly lead your team to excellence, why you should use the word experiment and not initiative, and what is vulnerability for real, and how to use that as a guiding principle with your team. Please enjoy my conversation with Captain David Marquet.
Hi, I'm Connie Wolshansky, mama of four and creator of the School of Excellence system, and I'm on a mission to help early childhood leaders build and sustain schools of excellence. So if you want to create a collaborative culture, build efficient systems in your school, and design an environment that can grow your team, then you're in the right place. In the last 15 years that I've been working in the early childhood field, I've become deeply passionate of helping leaders with their mindset, their skills, the tools, and the strategies to build their schools. So each week, I'll share strategies, advice, coaching, and inspiring interviews. I know that you want to create a ripple effect in your school and your life. So let's do this together.
Well, welcome, David, to Ripple Effect TV. I'm really, really honored to have you here. For those of you that have been part of our tribe for a while, David Marquet came on in 2017 to talk about control, competence, and clarity, which is from his book, Turn the Ship Around, which is a phenomenal book about how to turn followers into leaders. We have all that information in the show notes here. And so today I'm really excited to talk about your book that's being released today, if those of you that are watching this in real time, which is Leadership is Language. And I cannot get through the pages fast enough because everything that you're writing really pertains to school leaders. And I know that anyone who's interviewing you is saying, oh, it really pertains to our industry because leadership really is that incredible universal concept. So I want to dive into the ecosystem of a school has specific codes and languages that a lot of people don't understand in the outside world. And so what I love this concept of leadership as language is we want to create a specific language that is unique to our school. And so you started the book by talking about the performance mindset and how you can either have the prove of like, I can do this project, I got this, back off, don't worry, or the protect, which is, I don't want to be discovered as incompetent. And so I'd love for you to get started on how you've really seen this take place in leadership and where you've seen it kind of hurt the company or the team when the leader leads with that mindset.
Yeah, so prove and perform are sort of two sides of the coin of this mindset of I need to demonstrate competence. So I'm either, and we do it in two ways. Either I can say I can do it and I can show that I can achieve something, or at the worst, I hide incompetence. That's what the protecting part is. And the classic is you watch a movie where the character doesn't know. We know the character doesn't know how to read, but they're going through all these charades to hide the fact that they have some weakness, they can't read or whatever it happens to be. And there's a draw for that in society to demonstrate our salary is justified, on and on and on. The problem is that gets in the way of actually a deep, fulfilling life. Because deep, fulfilling lives are built on learning, change, adaptation, and agility. And that requires what we call an improved mindset. In other words, as I enter into some project, is my head, I got to get this project done, and we got to do it on time, and it's got to work? Or is it, hey, this is going to be some fun thing. We're going to achieve something, but more importantly, we're going to learn a lot. We're going to learn about each other. I'm going to learn about myself. I'm going to learn about the market. I'm going to learn about how students react to this new way of delivering content, whatever it happens to be. And that learning mindset triggers this sort of expansive, seeking, curious, what's behind the next corner activity in our brains, which over the long run is going to be good. The key is, though, sometimes we do need proof. Sometimes you're at finals. You got to demonstrate. That's the time for proof. The problem we see is people apply that mindset all the time. And what we want to do is have periods of proof encased in this sort of bigger rhythm where we periodically go to an improve and learn mindset.
So I love the way that you said that, of like, just the language that you chose of, this is a big project and we're going to learn a lot in the process.
Yeah.
Just that itself creates this immediate relaxation in your shoulders, in your heartbeat. You're like, okay, like that makes me feel good. And that opens up everyone's mind to be like, oh, how can I add value to this if this is going to be a learning project?
Right, exactly. And so, for example, we wouldn't use the word initiative. Okay, we're going to have a new initiative where we're going to change class size from 20 to 30. And that's just how it's going to be. And the problem with initiative is it feels heavy. We can't fail. Resistance is futile. And it turns everyone's brain off. Okay, let's just get through it. Versus, let's run an experiment for the next year. For the next year, we're going to have class size 30. At the end of the year, we're going to get together and have a really open, honest, and frank conversation about how it went. What motivated it in the first place? What did we learn? Now, throughout the whole year, all those gripes and things that happened back in the employee break room, people write those down in a journal, and then when that day comes up, we share them. And it's like, well, yeah, I can do it for a year. I think this is a bad idea. I already know how it's going to go. Okay, well, maybe you do, maybe you don't.
But it's an experiment.
It's an experiment. So and the thing that's so cool is that this idea of, I mean, isn't that what education is about?
Yes, everything is about. I love that. So even instead of saying we're going to try this new parent initiative, we're going to do this new parent experiment to see if trying this experiment, does this increase parent retention? Does this increase parent engagement or whatever?
Yeah. So for example, a school we work with that is for autistic kids. The old way was, if a parent called the school, a supervisor, not even the teacher, but one of the administrators would talk to the parent, because the administrators weren't really trained in how to talk, and the teachers weren't trained in a way to talk in a new way. And the kids would act up and they'd have bad days, and the parents and the teachers would just blurt that out. Even better, these kids are assigned a para, a person who goes with the student. These are the people who with the student. They know intimately, is Johnny having a bad day, or is this a deeper? They know the answer to that. But oh, heaven forbid, because they're what? Minimum wage. We can't trust them. You know what they said? You know what? Wouldn't the parent rather talk to the person who's with my kid and knows my kid best? So they said, let's just try it. Now, they could have said it's an initiative and this is how it's going to be, and it would have been really heavy, but they said, hey, let's run an experiment. Because the experiment also lets you adjust it. It makes you free. Now, don't run an experiment every day. Run it for a month or a semester. Well, what happened? Well, sure, every once in a while,
they'll say something wrong.
They said they would couch that. Well, your kid had a tantrum. Well, what did that? Oh, and the parents would overreact. But on the whole, it was much better because the parents were speaking directly, and those people, the parents who were paired up with the kids, felt so much better about their jobs because, like, oh, I'm not locked up in the back room. I can't dare say anything to a parent. It's like, no, someone values what I see and what I think.
This is so amazing what you're saying here, because first of all, I just love the example that you gave about the parent, because we see that in early childhood all the time. They'll have special instructors with children. But specifically what I loved is, again, we're talking to the school leaders, the owners here. And Their job is to take care of the teachers so they can take care of the children.
Precisely.
And too many times the leader feels like, I have to know all of the kids. No, the teachers have to know the kids. When you know more about the kids than the teacher does, you've stripped the teacher of all of that ownership of like, I know Johnny better because I'm with him for 8 hours.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I love that.
But what does that require? That requires giving up control. We call
Yes.
this. So what's playing out here is
Yeah.
in all hierarchies. All hierarchies suffer from the same condition, which is authority gets separated from information.
Yeah.
So clearly, the people who are with the students have more information about the students, but the authority is up here with the superintendent, principal, and the administrator. And the industrial age approach to solving that problem is to channel the information through phone calls and reports and stoplight charts up to the people with authority. And authority is as simple as talking to a parent. That's a component of authority. So instead, what we say is push the authority
down
to the people with the information. Yeah. It's so much better because now the people with the information, there's such a short feedback. We were at dinner last night, and my wife Jane's dish, she got the seared ahi, and there was just something wrong with it. Okay. And so she told the server, she's kind of reluctant to tell her, well, she's not eating it. And she told the server, but the server didn't say, okay, I got it. We'll take care of that. What did he say? I'll go check with my manager. In other words, doesn't have the authority. We got 22-year-old kids running nuclear power plants. He can't make a decision on whether to comp an entree or not. I mean, come on. There's no reason. There's nothing physically preventing these people. And and here's the key. And educators know this in their heart. They're just as smart as everybody else. They may have a little, and what I always say is, this is a little pejorative, but I say cavemen can do quantum mechanics. Cavemen, and the word caveman is sort of, but early Homo sapiens, 50,000 years ago, had the same brain structure, and they could have understood quantum mechanics. They just weren't educated in quantum mechanics. And we say, oh, you just have a college education, so therefore you're stupid.
You can't do this. You don't have the master's. You only have the BA. You don't have
but they're just as smart. They just 100%. Don't have education. And so we lump it all together and they say, no, you're in the working class. You're in the doing class. We are in the thinking class.
I love that example of the fish. It's because it says a lot. So I want to go on to, in your book, you really lay out the different plays of what it takes to really create this environment and this culture where we're using a different choice of words to approach situations. And so one of the things you talk about is So one of the things you talk about is how to move from coerce to collaborate. And I know that the people that are listening are always saying, I want a culture of collaboration. I want my staff to collaborate more. I want them to collaborate on ideas. And I feel like it's become a buzzword. And so I'd love to hear your insight in like, how do we really move from this to this when sometimes it's like, I just need you to do this because that's the safety or that's licensing. Like sometimes we lead with because I said so, but you have a different approach to that. And I'd love for you to speak on that.
Yeah. So most things are decisions, and you want input on the decision before you're going to decide. I don't think teams make decisions. I think individuals make decisions based on team input. Unfortunately, we have a model where most time individuals make decisions pretending to be based on team input. So here's the deal. Our language is from the industrial age, and the education system is an industrial age education system. Yep. So we do say we want collaboration, but the language we're using is coercion. Now, that's a pretty strong word. And just, no, I'm not coercing. I'm motivating. I'm inspiring them. I'll give you an example.
Yes, please.
You run a meeting and you'll say, hey, we've got to decide whether we're going to do this parent initiative. Parent experiment. We're going to decide whether we're going to run this parent experiment or not.
Yeah. Okay.
What does everyone think? and then we talk about it, and then okay, now let's vote, and it's a sort of binary vote, and then we count up the votes, and then the leader either decides to go with the group or not. The problem is the way this meeting is run, the design of the meeting, in that we discuss first and then vote in a binary way. This design suppresses outlying, diverse, and dissenting opinions because which means as we're talking about it, if everyone's saying, yeah, oh, yeah, it sounds good, we're going to do it, blah blah blah. If you're thinking the opposite, you're just shrinking in your chair. It's just harder and harder for you to speak up. And so what you want to do is, so that's coercion. I label that as coercion. If you say, hey, I think the number is 125, what do you guys all think? That's coercion because you're anchoring the group, deliberately anchoring the group.
Could you give another example of language of coercion? Because I know some people that are listening and be like, no, I don't do that.
Hey, I need to get everyone on board with this. Anything that uses, there's a case study in the book where we follow a container ship, and they make a decision. They sink in a hurricane in 2015.
Oh, I love that story.
This wasn't 1815. It was 2015. And the captain's saying things like, hey, we could do it. The ship's fine. We're going to be fine. The net effect of these words are to make it harder for people to then question. I don't think we're going to be fine. I think we need to turn. And so there's this subtle coercive impact, body language, sitting at the head of the table, speaking first, wrapping up. So we agreed at this meeting that Connie, you'll take the following action, and then John will do this, and David will do that, and Sally will do that. That is using power and influence to get other people to do what you want them to do. So the key is you got to let the doers be the deciders. Now, in a school, you may not be able to say, okay, every teacher can decide you want to use option A or B, but once the decision is made, all we need to do is commit our actions. Don't try and convince people it's right, because it's an experiment. We're here to learn. If you believe this is wrong, you will be proven right in the fullness of time. So hold on to and then you get to say, I told you so, which generally people don't do. But the key is you want to vote first. In a meeting where you want to make a decision, vote first.
So how would you do it? Let's say it's like, we want to run this parent experiment. Everyone raise their hand, yes or no?
No, not a binary question. What you say is, how strongly do people feel about this?
Okay.
And you can just use your hand. We call this fist to 5. So you say, show a 5 if you're super strongly convinced that we should do it. Show a fist if you're strongly convinced we should not do it.
Okay.
3 is like middle of the road. 4 is like, I'm pretty strong, but not super. Because what you wanted, so everyone goes 1, 2, 3, boom, they put their hands up. So the difference is, the difference is between saying, okay, if everyone's for it, raise your hand. Everyone's against it, raise your hand. There's still a third of the people never raise the hand. You don't know. They're for it, like in the middle. So first of all, now you have everyone participating. Everyone's raising their hand.
I love that.
What you're looking for is isolating the 5s and the 0s.
Okay.
You want to hear. So you scan the room. You say, okay, let's say you have 12 people in this meeting. You scan the room. You got a couple 5s and a whole bunch of 0s. Now what you do, and you got people in the middle too. Now what you do is you go to the 5s. I'm assuming it's a fairly safe environment where we can do this publicly. You can use cards and you can do polling and that kind of thing. But let's just say we feel safe in this group. Now you go to the outliers, and in particular, the minority outliers. So the 0s and the 5s are the outliers. And you say, Connie, I see you had a 5. Tell us about that. Tell us what you see. You could just start with description. Description is emotionally safe. It's not processed in an emotional part.
So it's not what you think. Just tell us what you see.
Yeah. You could start with, if it seems scary, tell us what you see. How do you see it? Well, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what do you think? And you can move up the ladder. You say, hey, what do you think? What would you recommend? If you were the superintendent, what would you do? Okay, blah, blah, blah. You can move up, but that gets more scary as you go higher.
Sure.
So, and then you go to the 0s. Okay, not the people who voted 0 is a better way to say
not
that.
The 0s, yeah.
And you say, okay, now let's hear from you guys. The difference is, at the end of the day, let's say this is going to be, the whole school's got to sign up one way or the other. But the difference is now you've heard with respect, and the whole group has heard. And when let's say, Connie, you're the only person showing a 5, and you start talking, what does the rest of the group do? Well, most groups, we pounce on you. Well, no, I've explained this. No, well,
We tried this last year. It didn't work.
I've been here for 30 years.
30 years.
I've seen this before. It never worked. Blah 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 blah. So
all of that.
That's bad behavior. What you want is curiosity. Oh, tell me more about that. The group can't challenge you until they ask at least one question. No one can challenge until they ask at least one question out of curiosity.
That's such a great standard even for a meeting. It's before you challenge, you need to ask a question that's led with curiosity.
Yeah, we say be curious before compelling.
Before what?
Being compelling.
Being compelling. Oh.
We want to be compelling. Well, why would you? Oh, have you thought of the students? Oh my gosh, I never thought. Thank you for reminding me. Like, how stupid is
that? Right. This is really powerful. Before you challenge, ask a curious question. I love that even for myself. Like, and this is just a great principle in general, even in marriage. Like, your husband says something, before you challenge it and shoot it down, well, tell me about that. Like, ask a curious question. Like,
it's a great thing with your kids, with your spouse.
Great.
Yeah, and here's another thing, by the way, since you're talking about that. I just went live with another guy, Shane Mack, who wrote the forward for the book, on a podcast last week. And one of the things we were talking about there is feedback. And the idea is to seek feedback. So I put this out with the hashtag Be Better. The idea is, ask someone, how could I be a better father, son, husband, spouse, mother, daughter, whatever it happens to be. Don't say, give me 10 things. And don't say, what's the most important thing? Because now the person's going to struggle with, well, there's this and there's that, but as this, you unburden yourself from. I'll just say, hey, what would be one thing that I could do
to be a better wife?
Be a better wife, be a better husband, be a better father, be a better son, be a better leader, be a better worker, be a better whatever, be a better friend.
Yep. Just
one thing. And start practicing that, and you'll find your life will be amazing. It'll be it'll be scary at first. Just start at, like, when you go to McDonald's, say, hey, what's one thing I could have been a better customer? Well, you could have ordered faster. Okay, thank you. Like, start that. Like,
start with something like that. You never
start unemotional. Start unemotionally, and then what's one I could do to be a better driver? Well, you're not using your turn signal. It's making me nervous. Okay, whatever. Okay, it's emotional, and then move to the more emotional, and do it. We call it 30-day Be Better.
So I love this piece of the feedback, and again, the coercion versus like collaborate. And I want to lead into, because one of the examples you were bringing is like, when the leader's like, I got this. They're not allowing the opinions to come in. And one of the things you talk about in those stages is how we want to lead with some of that vulnerability, where you allow the people to see your emotions. And I know this is scary for some of the school leaders that are listening to this, because I think in general, we struggle with like defining what true vulnerability is, but also when the leader is riding a storm during a particular difficult time. So I want to share a specific example that happened this week, and if you can highlight it, because I think it'd be valuable for everyone. So we have an owner who operates 6 locations, and one specific director just quit and walked out during her lunch break, just didn't come back after lunch. And the owner had invested a lot of time and money and training into this leader over the last couple of years. And beyond the shock, she was really upset at this person for walking out the way that she did, and just the mess that she created. And so when I was talking to her, she was like, I went to the center. I'm like, we're going to do this. We're going to power through. We're going to make this work. She's like, I don't want to be all emotional, whatever. Like, we're going to get this done. And it made me really uncomfortable with what she said, but I understood where she was holding now, and I'm going to follow up with her after. But I want to hear from you, who's worked with leaders, who, you were the captain of the ship. Like, how is the leader supposed to ride the storm with leading with trust and vulnerability, but not like that struggle is so hard?
So we want to be like, I was the nuclear submarine commander.
I know.
You talk about like, there's not a lot of movies where it's like, yeah, what do you guys think here? Oh, you're triggering me today. I'm feeling so down.
Yeah.
We don't do it. We sense that as weakness.
Yeah.
The problem with that is when we want, so in the new world that I'm describing, where the doers get to be the deciders, to make healthy decisions, we need healthy emotional lives. Decision making passes through an emotional part of our brain. Think about the biggest decision you make in your life: who to marry, right? What profession you're going into,
Yeah.
where are you going to live, all that. There's no spreadsheet that's going to answer this for you. At the end of the day, it's always it just feels right or something. So, and the key to emotional health of the lives is to connect as human beings. Now, in the industrial age, I didn't care about an emotional healthy life because I wasn't asking the workers to make any decisions. I just wanted them to do what I told them to do. Therefore, making human connections was actually discouraged. That's why the industrial age play is called conform. We conform to our role. And there's such a vestige of this in today's workplace. So it's okay to go to her team and say, I'm just gutted. I'm so gutted, and to be honest, I'm a little disappointed in this. I wouldn't roll the person under the bus. I would reflect the fact, but don't say, for example, they disrespected me. In other words, that's an accusation. That's not an emotion. Is I feel unvalued. I feel not seen. I feel I'm just disappointed in myself for not seeing this. Whatever it is, it's like you learn the words to describe your own feelings. I was at a brilliant leadership. This is a week-long program run in Lausanne, Switzerland at IMD by a guy named George Kohlreiser. And they charge all these executives a boatload of money, and they come for a week. And George had read my book, and he's written a couple of tremendous books, Kohlreiser. And he says, hey, why don't you come over, give a speech, and you can come into the class for free. And I was like, okay, well, that'll be a throwaway. I mean, obviously, I know everything about it. So anyway, we're in this class.
You still say that?
No. I'm joking. But to be honest, I said, oh, it'll be nice. I'll spend some time working on me. That'll be nice. So we're in this class, and these are this class is super expensive. So these are really senior people, like from all over the world. And with this one guy, he's an Australian, and he used to be a rugby player. Now he's a CEO of some company. And then we put him in this exercise where he has to be vulnerable. And he's talking about a situation where his best friend was killed in a car crash, and he's married to his best friend's sister.
Oh my gosh!
So, and there's a protagonist in the scene is like, imagine you got to talk to your best friend one more time, and this guy, and it was the most emotionally and shocking thing I'd ever seen, because it was emotional because he really channeled it, and he was sobbing, and everyone was sobbing, and he was talking about his best friend would just say, take care of my sister, but the shocking thing for me was, if you had just described it, CEO of a leading company, former rugby player, cries in a leadership seminar, I was like, oh, what a wuss, man. But I felt the feeling that guy is the strongest guy I have ever seen. How much strength does it take to do that? And then everyone afterwards was like, we all just had like a group hug. It was like the weirdest thing. And these people all make millions of dollars running. They're
all men.
Well, no, they're not all men. There are a lot of men. It's a pretty well balanced group, but.
Yeah. But wow.
But vulnerability is strength. Vulnerability is strength. Vulnerability shows that you're hurt. So I would practice words like,
What words could she use?
Yeah, I would say what keeps me up at night. When I think about this, what worries me. So in other words, don't say, I don't think that's a good plan. Say, what's nagging at me is blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I'd ask my team, hey, if it's 6 months from now, let's say we do this 6 months from now, it all went south. What would be the most likely reasons for that? And then sort of they can say, well,
how could we invite some? Because when she came into this location, she's like, oh my God, so many of the systems haven't been working. I have so much damage control. I have all of this like backup to do, right?
Yeah.
And so the question is like, how could she really use this as an opportunity for learning and growth and inviting the opinions and the suggestions of the upper management team when they're going through this rocky situation now?
Okay, so when you're under stress, and it can be time pressure, it can be I'm feeling overloaded, it pushes you out of your prefrontal cortex back to your reptile brain, which does a couple things. Number one, it's about self-preservation, and you feel very lonely because reptiles have no empathy. That part of our brain, that part of our brain with empathy and the idea that we connect with other humans or other animals is part of the mammal brain, and the thinking happens in the primate human part of the brain. But when you're under stress, these parts get darker and the activity is back there. And so it's natural to feel alone. It's natural to feel, and the thing is, it'll pass. Things are never, and it seems trite to say it, but your brain is tricking you and saying this is the most horrible thing, and it's projecting a straight line from today to infinity, which just goes down into an abyss.
Yeah.
Which is the reality is it'll go down and it'll come back up. So parsing the work, sharing the burden, expressing how you feel, step by step, one day at a time, making it small will be coping mechanism. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but from a leadership perspective, dealing with your team, that's what you want to do.
Yeah. So I have one more question for you, and I could talk to you for hours. I have so many more questions I want to ask you about my own leadership team and things like that also.
Yeah.
But so this show is called Ripple Effect TV, which is all about how us as the leader, what we can do with ourselves, which ultimately creates a ripple effect to all the people that we lead. And so what would be a ripple effect challenge you can give to our listeners today? Something that they can personally take action on.
So I love that because you can only control yourself. And leaders get lazy and they say, oh, you speak up, you be empowered, you be not, oh, what I need to do is change the way I ask a question.
Yes.
So here's a couple of really simple things that you can do.
Thanks.
So stop asking binary questions. If you want to say, did you go to the game last night? That's okay. That's binary. But for anything about the future, what do you think about? So stop saying, should we do this? Will this work? Is it safe? Are you sure?
And ask.
And instead start the question with the word how. How sure are you? How safe is it? How likely is this to work in your opinion? How enthusiastic are you? How strongly do you support this? Are you behind me on this? Like, no, how strongly do you support? 5, 4, blah, blah, blah. And that will invite much more nuanced responses from your team. And you'll learn more. If someone says, are you on board? Is everyone on board? Oh, yeah. You didn't learn anything. Okay, that's a fake. That's a fake out.
Right.
So how strongly are we supporting this? Especially if it's important, then I might let them vote anonymously, and then you can see what they're. But now you have true information.
Yeah, I love that. I love the piece of like stop asking binary questions. In the book, you really unpack that a lot more, and it was so eye-opening for me to realize when I was looking at the page. I was like, I asked those questions. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how is this affecting the scope of the projects and what we're putting out there in the world? Because I'm using that to lead the staff meeting or to close our team meeting. So this was so enlightening for me. And I have these little note cards in front of me on my desk where instead of saying this, say this. And really helped me a lot. So I just want you to know, like, one of my biggest takeaways so far is like create space for the pause and allow people to really pause, because I'm a New Yorker. I speak a mile a minute, and like, I have to remember to like, okay, pause, let people think and speak, and not feel like they have to think at my speed.
Right.
So I just want to really thank you for writing just such a masterpiece. So David, where can people find you and follow you and just learn more about your work and just your books and what you're up to?
So two things in particular. Of course, I would love it if you go buy the book. If you
Yep,
enjoy it, throw a nice review up there. That always helps.
great.
We have our program's called intent-based leadership. So intentbasedleadership.com, because it centers on this idea of intent, stating, not just doing stuff, but stating what you think you're going to do, exposing your thinking for others to react to. And then the second thing is we have a YouTube channel called Leadership Nudges, and you can subscribe there. And every Wednesday we put out a new nudge, which is just a 1 minute
Yep.
tip. So it might be, don't ask binary questions, start your questions with what or how.
Yeah.
That's
And
all
we'll
there
have
is.
all of those links in the show notes to your
Yeah.
YouTube channel, to your
Perfect.
books, and all of that, so you guys can all get access to that. David, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for
Thanks.
sharing with such an open heart and just so much wisdom and knowledge. We're really grateful just for everything that you're doing. So thank you.
Cheers, and thanks to all your listeners.
If you like this video, make sure to subscribe using the bell so that you get notifications when we release videos twice a week.